I'm fully aware that this is an absolutely ridiculous thing to say, but these little poop tokens are charming. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and today I'm reviewing Bark Avenue from Terradice Games. Bark Avenue, this is a prototype. I'll have a link to the Kickstarter down below. Prototype, rules, components, all that stuff, subject to change. Variety of elements of the game, the art, all those things will be changing. But with that, and of course components and all that, but with that, let's go ahead and dive into what this game is. Bark Avenue is a pick up and deliver game. A pick up and deliver game themed as a dog walking game. You're picking up a variety of dogs. You're going to start the game with a dog. You're going to have the opportunity to claim more dogs as you go to different neighborhoods, picking up effectively jobs to walk these dogs. From there, you have to go around, go ahead and engage in a bunch of activities, try to take pictures with them, try to go ahead and pick up their poop, or to engage in the activities that the dogs want to engage in, and then return them to their owners in order to get the payment on that, plus any potential tips, making sure you are not late, because if you're late, if you're too late, that is, you will potentially end up losing out a bit on that. And so, in general, this is pick up and deliver. Pick up and deliver with dogs. You're walking around, you're going to be following this sun track over here as it slowly moves around. This is going to be the round tracker to determine the end of the game as you go around grabbing events, replacing dogs, getting extra tips, things like that as you move slowly towards the end, as you wind down towards the game. Meanwhile, you're trying to balance the needs of a variety of dogs. You're going to have all the various neighborhoods over here. You're going to have the east side and the west side, all the way around. You have the west side and the east side. You're going to have Central Park. You're trying to pick up the dogs and wander around. You're going to be rolling dice in order to see what other things happen, although the dice will depend on where you are, whether you're in Central Park or whether you're in a park area or a city square, potentially having, well, for instance, poop over here. Having poop, which you'll have to clean up, which might sound like it's a bad thing, but the owners do appreciate you picking up their poop and they will reward you with tips. Meanwhile, you're tracking the dogs in terms of how many pathways they need. Each dog has different stats on it, including their movement speed, the size they are, how many steps of, how long their walk needs to be for, the type of activities they like, how much you'll be paid for them, and you'll be marking those. You'll have 3 dogs you can control at once, and if you are efficient doing this game, you'll be rewarded for it because effectively you're going on a walk. How many things you can appease or take care of on that walk are up to you. The more you can manage, the better off you'll be. The downside is you're trying to manage a bunch of potentially competing interests. Trying to pick up dogs that want to engage in the same activity will give you a lot more room because you only so many things you can do a turn, and so if you get the same dogs that want the same activities, you'll be able to capitalize on that, but then you have to be mindful of where are they. You might want that other dog at 96 and second because it has the same activity as your other 2 dogs, but if you're not close enough, you may not have options to you. Meanwhile, you're tracking the dog's desired walk length, and you're slowly turning these over as you start winding down on time, because again, you're trying to get everything together, but if you are too slow, you will lose out on the points for that walk and the reward you get for those walks. And then, along the edge of the sideboard over here, you're going to have a bunch of goals you can engage in as well. These goals are specific ways that you get a reputation, so to speak. You get reputation for doing certain types of walk. The first one is an easy one. Any walk you complete, you can go ahead and take one of these markers off your board, earning the bonus along the side track, putting that token down. From there, though, it depends. You have well-rounded, where you have each size of dog. You're going to have a perfect walk, where you got all 3 things done. You got their activity, the photo, and you picked up their poop. You're going to have expert, the same type of dog. You're going to have a solo walk. You're going to have treat train. You're going to have a bunch of cross-train, where you go from one side to the other. You're going to have a bunch of goals you can go for that you slowly want to gather reputation in each of these in order to start taking your tokens off this track, getting points and abilities, extras you can have as you go until you eventually get to the top of that track, getting an extra $10 tip as well at the end of the game. You're going through the cycle, you're rinsing and repeating, you're picking up dogs, you're dropping them off, you're managing your walk, you're trying to be mindful of the dog's speeds, the various traits and attributes they have. Some dogs don't want to be walked with other dogs. It's another thing you have to be mindful of. It's not just about finding the perfect combination of alignment, you also have to be mindful of the dogs themselves have preferences that you have to manage as you go through this. Meanwhile, this is ticking down, you're having events drawn, events will be yesterday's tip. All walkers receive 2 extra tip tokens. That's helpful. That's extra cash. Everyone likes a little bit of extra cash in terms of these tip tokens over here. Again, prototype. All the stuff you see here, subject to change as far as, well, what they look like and all that. I believe there'll be miniatures for some of the dogs. I'm not entirely sure. Again, link to the Kickstarter down below where you can see all the various things that they'll be doing. Past that, this will keep moving down. You'll be rotating dogs, and you'll get to the end of the game, and then you'll score everything up and see who won in Bark Avenue. And that's the game. That's how you play. Let's talk about the game. So, a few things going on here. Starting off with ease of play. The game's pretty easy to learn, pretty easy to pick up, prototype rules and all that, but still easy enough to understand and to dive into it. As far as game length, the game's rated at being 45 to 60 minutes. We found our plays came in at roughly 90 minutes. I don't know, maybe we're just trying to min-max a little too much, but given the length of time and the amount of actions you're taking, I think 45 is a little ambitious. Could be wrong, and in general I would say we take longer than the box says anyways. As far as player count, this is a 1 to 5 player game. I've only played this one at 2 and 3 players. Both were fine. I would say that the main competition, the main interaction from other players comes from the fact that there are multiple dogs on the board, and they're at various spots, and you're trying to pick up those dogs. There's not a lot of other interaction. It's more about the competition for the perfect dog. Having another player in the game adds a little bit to it because there's a little more tension as far as trying that dog. But I would say most of our decisions came down to not necessarily you picking up the dog, just where is the dog and what other things what other factors are we trying to be mindful of. So other players help, but 2 and 3 players were both fine as far as our games. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, this is a solid gateway game. It's a little gateway plus. I would say one of the players in the games was my daughter, who she's fairly good at games, and the whole optimization aspect of trying to figure out the min-maxing of combining this dog with that in order to get an ideal walk as opposed to just walking. There's enough strategy in the game. There's enough room to optimize in the game that it is on the gateway plus side. Definitely friendly to people, but potentially a little much if you're dealing with younger children or first-time gamers. It's possibly like a few games in as opposed to the first game. But speaking of which, as far as other things I like, there is room to optimize. There is strategy in the game as you try to combine the various dogs. You try to figure out the perfect way to optimize your tips. That's what you're doing in the game. You're trying to optimize around your dog walking. You're effectively looking at a dog, you're looking at their stats, you're trying to figure out how long they have to be out, what other attributes do they have, what activities they want to do, where are you located, all those things, and then trying to figure out how many dogs you can get all those combined with. It is a little bit of a puzzle, enough of a puzzle that there's strategy behind the decisions, and I like the balance of taking too long as well. The game has that aspect that you could go ahead past. It's not like a perfect length. You could keep walking them because you're halfway across town, you're going to drop them off eventually. It was worth it for the other dogs you picked up and the combined abilities, or for just getting well-rounded or being able to get all 3 dogs. Like, there are reasons to pick things up and have them out a little long. But you push that a little too far and you will lose out. So there's a nice little timer on the game along with that whole optimization aspect. As far as what I don't like, is starting off with the fact that pick up and deliver is generally a genre that I'm not a huge fan of. Usually when I do like a pick up and deliver game, it's buried within a ton of other things going on that really make pick up and deliver feel like a sub aspect as opposed to the main core premise of the game. This one, pick up and deliver, is the whole game. And so starting off, I'm a little biased against the mechanic in general. It's just not a mechanic that it's not a mechanic I've typically been in love with. I'm also not a huge fan of the art and aesthetics of the game. This is prototype form, so factor that all in. It is very much prototype, but the board feels a little too overlaid. I'm not as heavily brought into it. The dogs on the pictures, and I'm not a dog person to begin with, so I'm not like pulled in inherently by the theme. I would say if anything, the theme and the graphic design and all that is fine, but not particularly to my preference. And then lastly, the game loop is a little repetitive for the length of the game, although again, our plays were a little longer than the official game length, so that might be a factor, but it felt that the game loop is pick up a dog, try to find more dogs, optimize around that. The events do mix things up a little bit, but not significantly so. The core gameplay loop is fairly repetitive, although I don't know if that's a problem with Bark Avenue. I think that's generally been part of my problem with pick up and deliver in general. It's often a sequence of pick something up, drop it off, try to do so as efficiently as possible, and granted, you can make any game mechanic sound pretty stupid if it's not for you, but I think the problems I have with pick up and deliver are present in Bark Avenue. As far as I can see, others not liking the luck of the die and the events in general, or where the dogs spawn. There's enough little side things going on as far as, you roll that golden poop in the park. That's a good thing. That's going to be extra tips, extra money for you. It's not like, tips normally poop's a bad thing, but not in this game. But past that, the events, the dogs come out. There's a little bit of extra luck thrown in that will otherwise be factoring into the strategy you have. You have that perfect dog pop up right next to you. That is going to make your life a little easier. You get an event that favors you a bit more. You roll that die properly. Those things will favor you a bit more. There's definitely strategy, but there's also luck baked in as well. As far as final thoughts on Bark Avenue, this one's a 3.5 out of 5 for me. The game is solidly well done. The combination of dogs and the pathways you're trying to move towards as you try to figure out how to optimize around making these things work. It is a puzzle, and it's a puzzle that will, for the most part, win or lose you the game. Yes, there's luck, but it's not significantly there, and it mostly comes down to trying to optimize. Again, this was a little bit much for my daughter in terms of just being a drop more than what she would normally go for, just in terms of finding that perfect strategy. So there's room for optimization, there's room for strategy. There is a puzzle here of what you're picking up, how you're combining it, when you're timing those drop-offs, when you're getting those goals, which of these are you going for? Are you able to get all 5 of them across the course of the game? There is a puzzle here. At the same time, it is pick up and deliver. It is pick up and deliver with a theme that doesn't particularly pull me in, and it's a genre that doesn't particularly pull me in. So for me, it's a solid game, but also not one that I believe I'm the target audience for. As far as other game recommendations, if you want a pick up and deliver game that is a bit more gateway or kid friendly, My Little Scythe's going to be an excellent choice from Stone Rider Games that will give you pick up and deliver in an even more accessible fashion. And then if you want something more on the level of Bark Avenue, Century Eastern Wonders is a pick up and deliver game that is part of the Century series and gives you, well, the biggest degree of pick up and deliver that you'll find in that trilogy of 3 games. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this video helpful. There'll be a link to the Kickstarter down below, and as always, have a good one.